Hidden in Peru's Sacred Valley, in the town of Urubamba, sits Tambo del Inka, a luxurious gateway to one of the most popular new wonders of the world, Machu Picchu. And the best part? It's part of the Marriott Luxury Collection, meaning you can book this once-in-a-lifetime getaway for nearly free. So let's take you behind the scenes on this journey to a wonder of the world and see if Tambo del Inka really is the ultimate gateway to Machu Picchu. After arriving at Penn Station in New York, we made the connection over to JFK and immediately found our way to the brand new Capital One Lounge, which is now open 24/7, perfect for our 12:30 a.m. flight. But after a quick snack, it was already time to board, so let's start with how we booked our flights to Cusco for free.
Just as a caveat before we get into all the examples, everything we're going to show you throughout the video is actually from our original booking, since we did have to unfortunately cancel this trip way back in May, and it's currently September. So our original flight, which is the exact same flight we're about to take, would have been about $740 of paid in cash, but it was bookable with just 19,000 Avianca Life miles and about $106 in fees, which is like 3.3 cents per point, which is really good for Avianca. So we'll fly from here in JFK to Bogota, short layover, and then on to Cusco.
This was definitely a lengthy travel day, over 20 hours from driveway to hotel, but the thing is, Cusco, which is the closest airport to Machu Picchu, isn't super well connected, so you kind of have to take what you can get. But with that, welcome to Tambo del Inka. It was a very long travel day to get here, but we are very happy to finally be here at Tambo del Inka. Tambo? But our flight here was really smooth, all things considered. I wouldn't say Avianca is going to be winning any awards for the best economy seat in the world, but it got us here perfectly fine, no delays, perfectly on time, so no complaints from me. That said, I had very high expectations for this property, and from the first 5 minutes we were here, those expectations were well exceeded. I've never stayed at a luxury collection property from Marriott before, so I really have nothing to compare it to, but we have a ton of fun activities planned over the next few days because we're actually traveling with both my parents and Aaron's parents for the first time ever, as you may have noticed in some of the clips so far. So we did actually have to plan things out in advance, which isn't usually our style. But I think we're gonna settle in, grab some dinner tonight. Thankfully, we don't have to beat jet lag since it's only a 1-hour time difference. But after 20 hours of travel, we are all pretty tired and ready to sleep. Given that long travel day, we opted to have dinner at the hotel restaurant that first night, which ended up being our first glimpse into what was ultimately some of the best food Aaron and I have ever eaten anywhere in the world. More on that later. But at this point, you might be wondering, Brendan, I thought we were going to visit a wonder of the world, and I promise we're working our way up to that, but a few things to keep in mind, especially if you're going to plan a trip like this for yourself. First of all, once you get to the Sacred Valley, you've still got several hours of trains and buses to actually get to Machu Picchu, or a several-day hike if you're looking to do the entire Inca Trail on foot. Not to mention the fact that most of the towns here are anywhere from 8,000 to 13,000 feet or more, so for those of us that live near sea level, that is a consideration. Although I will note that thankfully that didn't end up being an issue for anyone in our group. Add on top of all of that, the fact that protests at Machu Picchu began the day before we arrived, and well, like I said, we'll work our way up to this wonder of the world. But for now, let's check out this awesome property and do some other fun stuff. So the property itself is built right along the Urubamba River with views of the mountains everywhere you look. Our room was really spacious with its own balcony off the back and had everything we needed to relax at this high elevation. The main restaurant where we had dinner last night is also where you'll find the breakfast buffet, which was just as delicious as all of the other food we've had and could either be included depending on the type of room you book, or you can get it for free with Marriott Platinum Elite status or higher. In the back of the hotel on the middle floor is the spa, which includes this beautiful indoor-outdoor pool, and above that is the lounge, where we actually had a light dinner most nights when we were here. But that's just the main building. There's pathways around the entire property that go in all directions to this cool shopping area, the on-site train station, and eventually to the hotel garden, which brings us to some of the fun activities we did during our stay. Now, obviously, depending on your level of comfort, you could book all kinds of tours and activities outside of the hotel for cheaper. But they do have a dedicated tour company on site called Vista, who we booked everything through. And I'm sure it was a little more expensive, but well worth it in my opinion, especially since we were traveling in a group of 6 in this case. So the first day, we enjoyed a horseback ride through the Sacred Valley, which came out to $270 per person and included lunch. Another day, we did a garden to table activity where we toured the hotel's on-site garden and were served what felt like a 10-course meal of everything from steak to tres leches cake, local wines, and of course, lots of cocoa tea, all of which was $99 per person, again, booked directly through the hotel. Erin and the moms also enjoyed a day at the spa, but the last activity before our big journey to Machu Picchu was a full-day tour, including stops in Chinchero, Maras, and Morai, which was just $65 per person, which is insane. Now, obviously, none of these numbers include tips, and I do encourage you, if you're able, to be outrageously generous. But regardless of that, this all felt very affordable in my opinion, considering the quality of the activities and guides, and the fact that we booked all of this through the hotel, which again is naturally going to be a bit more expensive than booking elsewhere. On our last night before our big trek to Machu Picchu, we wandered into Urubamba in search of an authentic Peruvian restaurant called El Huacatay that one of our guides had actually recommended. And after this meal and all of the other delicious food we had, I can confidently say that this is the best food I have ever had anywhere in the world. I know that might be a hot take with some, and maybe I just didn't know what to expect from Peruvian food, but everything we ate was so good. Before I get too hungry though, let me quickly explain how you can book this amazing property for free, and then, as promised, we'll finally begin our journey to Machu Picchu. All right, well, our stay has been absolutely incredible so far, but we're about to head out for our big final adventure to Machu Picchu, which is the whole reason we came to Peru. But before we do that, I quickly wanted to explain exactly how we booked this amazing property using miles and points. And like I mentioned earlier in the video on our flight, I do just want to clarify that we did book this originally using miles and points. We had to cancel, and it got super complicated with a combo of cash and points. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm just explaining our original booking for you to use as an example for yourself. So with that being said, we originally booked 5 nights here using 5 50,000 point Marriott Free Night Awards. We talked about this Marriott Free Night Award concept in more depth in our recent review on the Peñalonga Resort, which is the cheapest Ritz-Carlton in Europe. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out this review. But essentially, Marriott offers these free night awards and allows you to top them up with an additional 15,000 points to get as much value as possible out of them. So in the case of our original booking, 2 of our 5 nights required 2,000 additional points because they were 52,000 points each night. So in total, we used 5 Marriott Free Night Awards, 4,000 Marriott points total for those 2 nights that we topped up, and about $174 in taxes and fees. But regardless of whether you're paying cash, paying entirely with points, or using some weird combination of free night awards, I think this is absolutely a worthwhile adventure. All right, let's go explore a wonder of the world. Tambo del Inka actually has its own train station, which is pretty sick, but it only runs on certain schedules, so we took a short transfer from our hotel over to the Ollantay Tambo train station. I'm doing my best with pronunciations here. From there, we boarded the Peru Rail Vista Dome and rode for about 2 hours through some of the most stunning mountainous landscapes I've ever seen. The train then dropped us in Aguas Calientes, which is the town of Machu Picchu, where we ate a quick lunch, which was included in our tour through Vista, the same company that we used to book everything else at the hotel. And for this tour, they booked everything, including our entrance to Machu Picchu, the bus, the train ticket, lunch, and our guide, all of which was $550 per person if you're curious. Yes, it's a lot, but if you account for how much all of those tickets alone would have been had we bought them on our own, again, that's actually a pretty good deal. But after lunch, we boarded a bus that wound back and forth on switchbacks for about 30 minutes until finally, after months of planning, having to completely cancel and rebook this entire trip and endlessly long travel days, we finally arrived at the new wonder of the world, Machu Picchu. Now, you may be wondering, what about those protests that I mentioned earlier? I mean, literally days before we arrived, over 1,000 people got stranded at Machu Picchu. Well, as someone who talks to a camera for a living, I have absolutely no business commenting on a pretty complex situation in Peru. So all I will say is that it is so easy to talk yourself out of an incredible adventure. That's not to minimize the fact that stuff happens every day all over the world, and maybe if we didn't get so lucky, I'd feel a bit different. But if there's anything I've learned in all of my travels to over 50 countries and all 7 continents, it's that if you travel long enough, something is gonna happen at some point. And cliche as it may sound, all you can really do is decide how you're gonna respond to it. So of course, be an informed traveler who makes safety first decisions, but also don't believe all the hysteria you read online, because what I do know is Peru is a beautiful place with stunning landscapes, incredible food, and incredibly kind people. And when tourists like you and I cancel trips because of exaggerated articles we read online, well, that does have a downstream effect. All I can do is share our experience, which was nothing short of incredible, and I cannot recommend Peru enough. All right, stepping off of my soapbox, I don't think this video is gonna get any cooler than these crazy views of Machu Picchu, so you know the drill. If you wanna start working towards a welcome offer for your own Peruvian adventure and help support Daily Drop, then be sure to check out that first link down in the description to our top travel credit cards page. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.